The Witch in the Wood by T.H. White, Chapter 33. By dinner time that evening, a certain amount of mutual comprehension had been established. The Queen had managed to get King Lot to attend for a few moments to her forgiving act, and she had contrived to get it across to him that at present she was being mother-love. Also, she had extracted from him a brief description of King Arthur, the type of knight maintained by him, and the glories of his royal state at Caerleon. King Lot, for his part, mainly by questioning Alice and the boys, had found out the names of the two strange knights and the one princess who were living under his roof. He had gathered a confusing idea of the questing beast, changed into soothing underclothes, and had learned with furious indignation that his important dispatch from Bedegraine had been destroyed. He had quarreled with the witch about this while they were getting ready for dinner, and since they were not on speaking terms after the quarrel, the status quo ante of his home life re-established itself in the least possible space of time. "Trollop," muttered the king finally as they went in to dinner. "Fat boy," whispered the queen out of the side of her mouth, smiling charmingly. Then the introductions were made. "Well, Lot," boomed the Princess of Flanders, when they had reached the end of the meal, "you seem to have got a good trouncing out of Arthur." "Our men were magnificent," replied the king automatically. "Help yourself to a syllabub." "Difficult job fighting?" asked King Pellinore, "I suppose." "Child's play," said the king. "Child's play to a professional soldier. I suppose it must be." "Where on earth," asked Queen Morgause, "are Palomides and Grummore? Surely they know the time for dinner." "Explain it to the beast," said the princess. "They do it all the time now." "Have some more syllabub." "Thank you. Good syllabub this." "Yes, cook." "Have you heard the cuckoo yet?" interjected the king of Lothain. "Lot," said the queen, "go on with your dinner." She gave him a winning smile, rolled her eyes, and ground her teeth. "I wanted to tell them something," said King Pellinore shyly. "I wanted us all to be together, what? So we could hear my good news." "Who?" "Why, Palomides and Grummore." "The cuckoo," said King Lot defiantly, "was singing in Sherwood Forest before we came back." "Oh, indeed." "The news was," said King Pellinore. "I suppose it was singing about cooks," hissed the queen. "Why shouldn't it?" "Why should it?" "Cooks. Cuckoos." "Have some more syllabub, King Pellinore. Princess, pray help yourself to a syllabub." "I was going to say," said King Pellinore, "thank you very much. Splendid syllabub this. Honestly, I don't think I can eat all that." "At all events," said King Lot, "even a cuckoo would not tear up important documents." "It might," said the queen logically, "if it wanted to make a nest." "Cuckoos don't nest." "How do you know?" "Of course I know. Everybody knows." "Well, I suppose they wear soft woolies." "If they did wear soft woolies," replied the king furiously, "their wives would send them on." "Oh, would they?" "Yes, they would." "You must excuse my husband, King Pellinore. Do help yourself to a syllabub." "Oh, I say, but I have had 5 helpings already." The Princess of Flanders cut into the conversation with a firm hand. "My fiancée," she announced, "was going to make a statement." "Yes," said the king, blushing furiously. "Oh, yes," said the king, blushing furiously. "So I was. It wasn't anything. What? It doesn't matter. It was only about Piggy and me." "I have heard nothing about anybody's fiancé," said the queen defiantly. "Have some more syllabub." "No, thank you." "It was only about our going to Caerleon to be married." "That reminds me," said the queen. "I shall have to go to Caerleon myself." "You?" exploded King Lot, blowing out some mead. "Certainly. Have you got anything to say against it?" "Everything." "Nothing to do with cuckoos, I hope." "My dear Morgause." "I shall go to Caerleon," stated the queen, "on an embassy. I shall go to plead with King Arthur for the lives of my orphaned children." King Pellinore waited sadly for the congratulations which he hoped would follow the announcement of his engagement, but his host and hostess were at it hammer and tongs. "I suppose we are both dead, then?" shouted King Lot. "If they are orphans?" "It would be a good thing if some of us were," screamed the king. "Oh, and who would fight the battles for them, then? Lose them, you mean? That's the sort of catcher thing you would say." You must excuse my husband, King Pellinore. You must excuse my wife, princess, and have some more syllabub. Damn the syllabub! I shall take the children with me. I absolutely forbid it. Cuckoo, fat boy, cuckoo, trollop. Hello, cried Sir Grummore breezily, rubbing his hands as he came in from the battlements. Having a sing-song or something? We were just going to dash in for a snack while the questing beast thinks things over. Sir Palomides followed him, looking apprehensively at the queen. My fiancé, boomed the Queen of Flanders imperturbably, was just announcing our engagement. Meaning old Pelly? Yes, said the king faintly. It's me. Well, my dear old boy, whoever would have thought it? Let old Grummore be the first to congratulate you. As a matter of fact, you are. There, cried Sir Grummore. How splendid, how perfectly, absolutely splendid. Old Pellinore hitched up at last, and Grummore the first to congratulate him. It's jolly decent of you, Grummore. Felicitation, said Sir Palomides. Allow yours truly to offer humble well wishes on behalf of self and entire gorgeous East in fee. Really, Palomides, I say you are kind. Not at all, not at all. We must drink a bumper to the health of Flanders. Look here, said King Lot, recovering. Am I to understand that these people are engaged to be married? King Pellinore, replied the princess cheerfully, has made the matter clear. There is a saint here called Torellavec who is coming down to be married with us at the same time. Then I suppose I ought to offer my congratulations. And I, said the queen icily, rising to her feet, must add that I can only hope your marriage will be a happy one. She curtsied with frigid dignity to convey that she thought such happiness would be extremely improbable, and swept out of the room. Well, said Sir Grummore. Excuse me, said King Lot. I beg your pardon. Back in a moment. A little matter to discuss with the queen. He also scuttled out of the door, and they could hear some bumping and pinching going on in the passage. The two psychoanalysts helped themselves to food. A bit of trouble about something? Asked Sir Grummore after a time, with his mouth full. He had been married for 30 years. A bit. Ah, well, said the knight. Let's hope it won't be like that with you and Piggy. Sir Palomides said wistfully, I suppose it will be a very good marriage, won't it? You will be off to Caerleon to do it, I suppose. Yours truly will be left behind. Nonsense, Palomides. We shall go with them. We shall go to the marriage ourselves. King Lot came in again unexpectedly with a red face and caught the last words. He had lost the battle with his wife. Certainly not Palomides, he said. You will not leave this castle for a moment. No, your majesty. And why not? Asked Sir Grummore. Because he has got us into a mess, replied the king, glaring. And he has got us out of it. Do you suppose I'm going to be left here with this cursed beast outside all the time? It's damned inconvenient, Grummore, and Palomides has got to make it go away. Well, we can always kill the beast. At this, King Pellinore, who had been watching the princess like a cow leaning over a gate, woke up. Kill the beast? He exclaimed. What's that? What? Who's going to kill my beast, I should like to know? We're only talking about killing the creature so that Palomides could come to the marriage. King Pellinore became dogmatic. Now look here, Grummore, he said. That's enough of that. I'm engaged to be married, and I want everybody to be happy on my wedding day, including my dear old beast. Palomides may want to come to Caerleon, and he may not. He can always come later on, but that's no reason why my poor beast should be slaughtered like a buttercup. After all, it was you two who got her into this mess, and it's up to you to get her out. I never did understand why you did it. What? But you did. It's this silly passion for dressing up. Childish, I call it. Certainly you can't kill my beast, and everybody can see that it's very inconvenient, as it is for poor old Lot here. After all, it is his castle, and it is my beast, isn't it? And you two are responsible. I shan't send you an invitation to the marriage or anything, Grummore, neither of you, until you have psychoanalyzed the old beast properly, as Merlin said. Queen Morgause was in her secret chamber, seated in the bath. She was wallowing vigorously in a consomme of snail's blood, rotten seaweed, old water which flowers had been kept in too long, frog spawn, asphodita, fish glue, cascara sagrada, castor oil, dead worms kept in a tin for a month under the influence of Saturn, decayed prawns, offal, blue marsh gas, guano, moldy rat's tails, and other ingredients without which no woman can be truly beautiful. Over the bonfire, which burned in the chimney, a cauldron of love philters simmered with a ghastly reek. Mother Morland, hurriedly summoned, had recommended it as the most potent in her repertoire. The queen was in full tide once again. Very well, she was thinking. Now I have had enough. I have borne his insults, his cruelty, his drunkenness, his physical assaults, beaten, pinched, insulted in front of my guests, sneered at, deprived of every consideration, humiliated before the servants. Still, I have borne it all for the sake of my beloved children. For them I would do anything, but now it is too much. Meek, womanly, misunderstood, maltreated, but too loyal to admit it, I shall make my way to King Arthur's court with my darling orphans. Lot says that Arthur is only 20 years of age, and Grummore was telling me that he was one of the finest-looking men he had ever seen. And think of all the glories of court at Caerleon. The fine, upstanding knights who were victorious in the war. I always said that Arthur had the best knights. I was against his stupid expedition of Lot's from the first. I was against this stupid expedition of Lot's from the first. Humble, self-sacrificing, motherly, shy, nay, mouse-like. I shall throw myself upon Arthur's mercy with my babes about me. Then we shall see. The chapel was dark, except for 2 wick lights, one violet and one orange, which burned before the statues of the Virgin and the Sacred Heart. The dead kings of Orkney slept round the walls of granite and soapstone, some with their legs crossed, all with their arms folded on their breasts. They were in armor from the earliest kind to the latest, with their swords at the sides. The ones who came first, like the old pirate who had built the great keep, were so rubbed and polished that their noses and toes and fingers were smoothed down into the stone. Some of them had miniature wives beside them, whose snub features gave a highlight to the dim glow, and many had the effigies of their children kneeling reverently all around. 1 or 2 had their feet on a greyhound, or other favorite, who slept away beside his master, poor fellow, in the faithful stone, and all of them cast profound shadows upon the walls behind them, walls which they had helped to build. Each tranquil king had propped his lance against the tomb he slept in, and over every tomb there hung the actual helm or helmet which the king had worn. Then from the low roof the banners of conquered enemies hung motionless in the overgloom, showing their tattered dust and the carved stalls in which the royal family sat or kneeled for mass, through with their pinnacles of fretted shade. It was so dark in the chapel that you could hardly see the stanchions on the walls. A faint memory of incense hung in the darkness. The sea wind stirred the holy lights ever so little, and the stone flags were cold to the knees. Before the altar, the unknown warrior lay forgotten in silent death. They had not even lit his candles. The 4 Cornwall children were kneeling in the home of their ancestors. They had listened at the door of the great hall during dinner, and they knew that they were bound for Caerleon. They were praying that they might be true to their loving mother, and that they might be worthy of the Cornwall feud which she had taught them, and that they would never forget the land of Lothain where their fathers reigned. And that's the end of chapter 33.